everyone, my name is Vina, aka Miss WOCReader, and welcome back to my channel. And today's video is different than my normal ones. So a lot of you guys have been following me for the past couple of years. You know, life has not been easy for me. For those of you who are new here, basically 2023 was like one of my hardest years. It started off like relatively good, then like around the summer time things just went to hell. Like my dad, he was chronically ill and things just got bad to the point of no return, and he ended up passing away late September of 2023. So I had this big vacation planned and I had to cancel that vacation for the funeral. I was out on leave from my job for the first half of October, and then went back, and then shortly after I was laid off. So when I was laid off, I was in the midst of grieving, and they gave us a severance package. They had given us like 3 months of career coaching, and they told us like, okay, your last day is going to be like December 15th, I think it was, and you can use this time instead of working to hunt for jobs every day. Well, like, it was the end of the year, like most companies aren't really hiring too much back then, and like I just had too much going on to try and hunt for a job at the time. Like I was still trying to get right, so I had went on a couple of trips, like little getaways. One of them was to DC, which I did vlog. The vlog is here on this channel, just to try and like get my mind right and be in a fresh environment away from everything that reminded me of my dad. So like while I was working with the career coach, the beginning of January and February of 2023, it was still very difficult. I would meet with the coach like once a week, and we worked on my resume and different interviewing tips, but it was still so hard to like get in the mindset when everything had been going wrong in life. And I was honestly burnt out because I had been working so hard straight like for the past few years during the roughest time, because we had the pandemic as well, which working in the financial industry during the pandemic was hell. And so I started taking the job hunt seriously, I want to say like around March, April. Like, and I was like, my head was like a little bit clear and I was able to go out there. Well, anybody who has been job hunting the past year knows it is extremely difficult in this market. You get ghosted a lot. They want like very high expectations. Like you have to basically have everything, even if you have all the skills. If your job position wasn't that exact title, that's an issue. And they always say like it's easier to get a job when you have a job, and like they question you about gaps in your resume. But right now we're at a point where there's so many layoffs, everybody has gaps in their resume, and you're competing with a lot of people in your industry who have been recently laid off. Like there was a big layoff of people in the financial industry between 2023 and 2024. So I was like struggling to find a job. Now I was in a better place than a lot of other people because I had the severance. I had a lot of money saved up as well. I still have a savings account that I have not touched yet. Originally I was saving to buy a house. Now I'm just like, I don't think I'm gonna buy a house around here. Like, so plans have kind of changed a little bit. And I haven't even touched like 401k, like break that if it's an emergency. So I was in a better place than a lot of other people, where I also wasn't applying to anything and everything, even though I was applying to a lot of different things. But even some of the stuff like I should have gotten easily as jobs, it's like, oh, well, now you have too much experience for this role. So job hunting has just been very difficult. And around December, like I was getting a lot of pressure to really find something. Like my mom, who I've been living with, and I was fortunate to be able to live with her instead of having to take care of like a mortgage or rent. She was kind of pressuring me a little bit, like to find a job and acting like, oh, you just don't know how to close the deal at the end through the interview. I'm like, no, mom. A lot of these positions are actually just not really trying to hire anybody, or they're trying to hire internal. And or they're trying to hire like people who are friends with the managers and stuff. So I ended up applying to this one company that was advertising that's not far from home. And like I applied, and it ended up being through a staffing agency, and it was for a lot lower than I wanted, but I'm like, okay, you know what, I can just do this, make some money, and then leave with a new job because I'll have a job on my resume. So I was not looking forward to taking this role. It was just something I was kind of taking because I had to, not because I wanted to. And like my first red flag would have been when I did the interview. This was like the first week of January 2025. It wasn't like a regular interview. So it was a virtual interview, and like the person never turned on their camera, and they weren't really asking me too much questions about like my work experience and stuff like a lot of jobs normally do. They were basically like, well, you worked in a call center like years ago, so you kind of like understand how it operates and stuff like that. This was like supposed to just be like a call center position for a local utility company. Now, I have worked in a call center previously, so I generally know how they operate. They want you on the phone like majority of the time. You got to be ready and available to answer calls, but some operate stricter than others. And a lot of them, they get into trouble for how they try to micromanage people. It's not an environment where you can just get up and walk around and easily be free, but having worked like the phones before, I understand like a good place will give you some balance. Now, this was being advertised as training is 8 to 4:30, and then once you're done with training, you would work 9:30 to 6. So that was my understanding going in. I got like offered the job right away, but at the same time I didn't really want this job. I was also up for another position also through a staffing agency that was also phones, but that was going to pay quite a few dollars an hour more. That one, they ended up ghosting me. So like went into February, like still trying to find something else. Wasn't able to find something else. Reluctantly was like getting ready to start this job. Now, this job also required a drug test. That was like red flag number 2. So like I went to the testing lab. The first time I was there, went early in the morning because walk-ins were from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Went early in the morning, got there, and they were just like, oh yeah, we don't have the supplies to be able to do the testing. Come back next Wednesday, we should have everything in. Get back next Wednesday, do the drug test. Okay, I don't hear anything like for a week. Then the agency reaches back out to me. They're like, oh, the number that they filed it under doesn't match the number we provided you. You have to go get it done again. Okay, went and got it again. So I got that taken care of. Started the job. I was supposed to start, I think, like February 10th. We're getting close to February 10th, and I'm not hearing anything from the agency. I reached out to them, like, what time I start? Like, what are my instructions for the first day? Whatever. Like, actually, we're going to start you on, like, the 18th because they need a little bit more time. So, first day, I go in, and they put us on the phone the same day, which was crazy to me because like they didn't even show us how to take a call. They were just like, okay, you're just going to be on the phone, like get whatever like operator calls and like transfer them to where they need to go. Like for people who don't use the IVR correctly, they just kind of get dumped into this one queue, and then you like play switchboard operator and send them where they need to go. So it wasn't a ton of calls a day, but it was still like weird to take phone calls that first week. And then they told us that first week, they said, oh, did they talk to you about the on-call time? And I'm like, on-call time? I didn't hear anything about on-call time. The agency had told us that there was some mandatory overtime, but you would be notified ahead of time, and it wasn't all the time. So on-call time just like completely blinded me, because again, this is not a high-paying job, and I did not sign up for on-call time. Like, I never worked a position where you had to be on call. That's just not what I'm trying to do unless they're paying me a lot of money. So like my mom and my aunt and stuff are like, oh, just hold on to it until you find something better, like tough it out or whatever. So we were finally moved on to like classroom training. And we were hearing like they always hire a lot of people, and they only hire them through staffing. They only start you through staffing agencies, and originally the staffing agency had said they usually hire people within 6 months to a year. We find out no, it's actually like a year plus, because they said they had some people who had been working there for more than a year. They still had not hired them on yet. They weren't sure they were going to actually offer them a position, but they keep extending their contract because they're so short staffed. They need people. That was another red flag. So we start doing the book training. We're not like getting to observe calls. Having worked on a call center before, when I did training, there was a lot of job shadow time where like, yes, you would do the classroom work that they got to teach you, but then you would go sit with an agent, or you would virtually watch an agent's screen so you could see how they navigate calls, because it's one thing to learn by the book, it's another thing to see everything in motion. And we weren't taught how to use the phone system. Like, we weren't being taught that. Even when they threw us on the phone for operator calls, they didn't really teach us how to use the phone system. I kind of knew how to use the phone system a little bit because I had used that type of phone system before in a previous job. So like, after we start, they're like, okay, it's mandatory Mondays. So Mondays after training, you have to work 2 hours of overtime. You're supposed to work till like, well, not 2 hours, 1.5 hours. You're supposed to work till 6 o'clock. So I wasn't looking forward to that. Again, it's like, okay, I'm going to have to power through this, work the mandatory 1.5 hours of overtime every Monday, still getting out at 4:30 during training the rest of the week. Okay, like, we did a little bit of book training, then they threw us on the phones. Like, for a week they threw us on the phones. We had one person helping us. They don't have like a supervisor queue like a lot of centers when they call. Like, if it would be like, I want to speak to a supervisor, they have somebody you can transfer to. They didn't have that. They didn't have like somebody you could call up and be like, oh, I don't understand this, can you explain it to me? Which is something I was also used to, like when I had worked in a call center like back, having a supervisor queue like you could call and get assistance from, not necessarily need to transfer anything to, but just call and get help from. They had like one supervisor sitting there in the office with us, and there was like 8 of us sitting there who needed assistance. So sometimes you would be waiting to get an answer. When we were also doing this training, we had another group with us that had a lot more people who was virtual in a different state. Their group dwindled down over time. They started with like, I want to say like maybe like 15 people. They dwindled down to like 4 by the end. And we were seeing a lot of like the classes who were coming in before, like people who came in before us and people who came in after us, also leaving and not coming back. Like, one week the parking lot was extremely full, the next the parking lot was pretty empty. And that's like a big red flag, like, you know, people aren't staying. So once we like started getting toward the end of training, then they were like, oh, you have to do the on-call time. You're supposed to do an on-call rotation every 6 weeks. I signed up for the furthest week out because I'm like, I'm not doing this on-call time. So we were on the phones like the one week when they also had the on-call time. What we were told is like, okay, if you're on call, you have to stay until like the queues are cleared and then you can leave. The queues, like, so the queues will clear sometime after 6. A lot of times they were staying till 6:30. Sometimes it could be later than that, depending on how many calls they let through the queue before they were supposed to officially close at 6. So I already wasn't looking forward to like, okay, you have to like take all these extra calls, and then if there is like something big going on, they want you to stay and do all this stuff. Again, I still hadn't done the on-call time. We were hearing mixed information about it, because I was told, oh, if you do on-call, you just have to stay until your time, and then they call you, you take your computer home with you, and they call you to get on the phones if something is going on and they need people on the phones to help, like an outage or something. So, like, that was giving misinformation to the, oh, you need to stay until the calls are cleared, and then like even then they will call you if they need you. One person who did it before me, she said what happened is she was working one day and like 6 o'clock happened, and then there was like some incident and they were just like, okay, on-call time starts now, and she had no clue when she was going to be able to leave. She has kids, so she's like talking them back and forth, like, I have to leave, I can take my computer home and I can work at home. And they were like, no, and trying to fight her about leaving. She just left. She had to go take care of her kids. Come to find out, they did not leave the office until 12:30 a.m. To me, that's unacceptable. So I live on a street where there's not a lot of parking to begin with, and a lot of people just never leave. So if I leave during the day, a lot of times, like, I won't find parking on my street. I might find it around the corner or up the block or something like that. On a good day, I can get parking on my street. Rarely do I get it in front of my house anymore. So I'm like, I don't want to work a job where I am going to have to like be held until God knows when, because you don't know what time you're leaving on those days, and then have to find parking like blocks away from my house, because if it's 12:30 in the morning, there's not going to be anything like in the surrounding blocks near my house either. I might have to park even farther and walk over. So I was already keeping that in mind. This entire time I've been applying to different places, like doing like phone interviews on lunch when I can. I had left for interviews like twice. One I was up for, it was kind of a mixed bag because I knew I had all the qualifications for it, but the assistant manager there was a manager I used to work with at my previous job, and she did not like me. Like, I wasn't the best employee, like, at first. Like, I was a work in progress, but like, she just like held out against me, and she was really all about the numbers, and I had been ruining her numbers. And so she never liked me, even when we were still working together but on different teams. So like, I really feel like they let me interview, but they were never actually going to give it to me because of her. So then I'm like, okay, my time is going to come up for this on-call. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I was like waiting to hear back from another place. Now, we were like considered officially out of like classroom training, and they're like, okay, so now you are going to work the regular overtime that everybody else does, even though we're like technically still in training. The regular overtime that everybody else was working was every single day. Every single day, they were expecting us to be there from like 8 a.m. to like 5:30, 6 o'clock, depending. So remember I said they were supposed to switch our shifts? They were like, oh, when we switch your shifts in a couple of weeks, you are technically supposed to be the 9:30 people, but you will still have to come in at like 8 a.m. and you're going to stay till the queues are cleared. The queues have been clearing between 6:30 p.m. and 7. So I'm like, okay, this is a job where I don't have benefits because I'm not working with the company directly. We don't have like PTO or anything like that. Like I would be taking unpaid time if I have to leave for anything, and I can't leave for things like a lot during the day. It's like clearly very obvious when you're going to leave for an interview. And they want me to basically be here between the hours of 8 to 7 every day. Like, that's not going to work. You're monopolizing my time and now making it harder for me to even be able to interview at places to find a way out of here. My final straw was they were talking to us about expectations. So like your like training period is coming to an end. Again, I've been in a call center before. I know they want you to be on the phones like a lot. But they were like basically like they asked us, they said, what do you think is a reasonable amount of time to have a bathroom break? And I was just like, wait, what? Like, you can't put a time limit on how long somebody uses the bathroom. Now, some of the older women who were working with us were just like, oh, like 5 minutes, like 4 minutes, like, oh, but sometimes it takes longer if they're cleaning the bathroom in the office and stuff like that. No. And like, again, having worked in a call center and worked at home at one point in a call center, I know it's easier if you're at home and you need to take a bathroom break because you're sitting near the bathroom versus when you're in an office and you never know what's going to happen. Also, like, we got 2 15-minute breaks and a 30-minute break. They were saying that you should train yourself to only really use the bathroom during your 15-minute breaks and your 30-minute breaks. So you would get a break like every, like, let's say 2 hours. I'm like, with the 15-minute, by the time you get like a snack and go to the bathroom, your break's done. At the 30 minutes, like, you have a little bit longer, but you're just trying to decompress. I'm like, and you can't really train yourself too much to use the bathroom. Like, if I gotta get up and use the bathroom, I gotta get up and use the bathroom. Like, you trying to put a time limit on it is crazy. And having worked in the call center environment, I know that's where, like, they end up running into some problems when they try to police, like, how often you go to the bathroom. When I had moved away into, like, a different center within the same company, like, they had made a point to tell us, like, you know, we had gotten onto it in the past about, you know, like, policing people's bathroom breaks. We don't do that here. We're not going to do that. If you need to use the bathroom, you need to use the bathroom. And management there was, like, a lot more lenient. They're like, oh, if you need to do this, like, I can put in this time for you to make this phone call or whatever. Like, do what you need to do. So you have these people, like, immediately, like, okay, your training's about to be done. This is what you need. This is how often you need to be you taking, like, personal breaks. You shouldn't be taking, like, personal smoke breaks. You shouldn't really go into the bathroom out of your scheduled time, blah, 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 blah. And that just rubbed me the wrong way. On top of them already monopolizing all our time between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. So, like, I was also getting stressed too because when I applied to this job, I didn't realize we would be doing a collections role. And the way they have us doing collections is you have people calling you, screaming, like, angry, like their utilities are about to be turned off and they can't pay their bill. They're like, well, I don't understand how my bill got so high. We weren't trained to read their bills, so we didn't even know how to explain it to them. And you're supposed to fight these people for money, and they don't have a lot of options. And most of them can't pay. So, like, we were getting cursed out. People were talking to us all kind of nasty and stuff like that. And it was definitely affecting my mental health because then I would be coming home irritated, like, all the time because I ate this job. And, like, people are talking to me any kind of way and I'm supposed to take it. I don't feel like training was enough. Every day we're learning something different. Management is contradicting themselves. And, like, so then I'm, like, getting snippy with my family and stuff. And then on the weekends, because my time is so monopolized during the week, like, then I don't want to do anything but just, like, lay down exhausted. So I'm not really getting the stuff I want to get done during the weekend. And I know previously when I had felt like that at a job, I had to end up searching for like a different department to get out of that, because I'm just like, I need a new job or I need a different department, but I gotta get out because I can't do this anymore. So like when I told my mom, like I'm just going to quit. We had a trip coming up to Jersey. I'm like, I'm gonna have to call out that money anyway. I'm just going to finish the Friday out and be done. At first my mom kind of like doubted. She's like, you can't just leave this job. You don't know like how hard it is for you. Like you don't know if it's something you can't handle. I'm like, no mom, I've worked in stressful environments before. I know that I cannot handle this. And having like been through a lot the past couple of years, I know like I'm like, there's no point in living life if you're just going to be miserable the entire time. Like my mom and I were having this discussion. She's like, well, you just are trying to leave because like things are getting difficult and you don't have any like responsibilities, like having to pay for like a mortgage and kids and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, and that means it's the perfect time for me to leave a bad role with nothing lined up, because I have a bit of a cushion. I have some savings. Like I have no mortgage or rent to worry about paying. I have no kids to take care of. I just have to make sure my car is paid, the internet is paid, and my groceries are done, and that's it. I don't really have to spend a whole lot of other money. So I can scale back on some things and not have to spend too much. And I'm gonna save money because I'm not gonna have to buy as much food, because I don't need like all the snacks I would eat while being in that office and stuff like that. And I can just make like big meals and eat big meals throughout the day. So I worked my last day, did the mandatory overtime, came home, sent them an effective immediately email like resigning, because at that point like I couldn't handle it anymore. You are not about to start policing when I go to the bathroom too, on top of everything else. So while normally I would not quit a job without something lined up, I knew I needed to get out. Like I was stressing. My camera battery died because I had been talking for a while. But like I'm one of those people where if I am just super, super stressed out, my body starts to reflect that as well. So, like, I have been dealing with like my hair shedding a lot the past like year, well, like 2 years, like from stress. So, I'm in the process of trying to regrow it because like there's a section in the middle that like is a lot shorter than the rest of it. So that's why you see me wearing braids more often this year. And also it's just more convenient to wear braids versus having to worry about getting my hair done. I watched somebody who was talking about it on Twitter the other day, who I've been following for a while. They're just like, you know, in America you're like working. So it's just like I have braids in all the time just so I wouldn't have to worry about doing my hair, because that's one less thing. And I'm like, yeah, it's just so much easier when your hair is braided to like you don't have to worry about doing your hair. You can just get up and go. Because if I were to have to get up and do my hair, that's additional time. I got to get up in the morning to do it. And so I've been trying to like maintain my stress levels like better, because also it was throwing my cycle off. And the past couple of weeks, like my cycle was getting thrown off again. When I'm highly stressed, my cycle gets thrown off, so like it stops and starts and stuff. So I knew it was time to get out. So as much as I did not want to have to quit without something lined up, I'm like, I am in a good enough position right now where I have some money saved up where I can work my budget, where I couldn't quit without having something lined up until I find something. So I'm praying I find something soon. My game plan for right now is to just get up every day, apply for jobs, catch up on my reading, and try not to worry too much. So I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to my current situation. If you guys want to support me, continue to watch my videos, I have my bookshop.org listed in the description box below, and you'll probably see me popping up here and there to do some lives while I try and work on the edits for my book. If you liked this video, make sure and hit that like button. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!